Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to be tackling something that might make your palms sweat a little bit. Public speaking,
Right.
we've all been there. Whether it's a big presentation or just speaking up in a meeting, it can be, so nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But you're in luck because we're doing a deep dive into a Coursera article. It's called 10 Tips to Improve Your Public Speaking Skills.
It is a great article.
And let me tell you, this article is packed with advice, and it's really actionable advice that can help anyone from the terrified beginner to the, seasoned pro.
Yeah. I think what struck me was how much it goes beyond the surface and really kind of digs into the psychology behind effective communication.
Okay, let's unpack this a little bit. The first tip is about understanding your audience. And they say knowing who you're talking to is key to feeling comfortable. But it's more than just knowing their names and job titles. Right? Yeah, absolutely. It's about putting yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
What are their interests? What are their concerns? What level of knowledge do they have about the topic you're speaking about?
Yeah.
You wouldn't explain quantum physics to a 5-year-old the same way you would to a group of physicists, right?
Huh. Good point. So how do you tailor your style to different audiences?
I think.
Yeah.
I think it's all about reading the room. You have to be adaptable. For example, if you're noticing people's eyes are glazing over, that may be a sign that you're losing them. And maybe you need to simplify your language or use more visuals. Or if you sense a lot of energy and excitement, you can amp up your delivery and be a bit more interactive.
So it's almost like having a conversation where you're constantly adjusting based on the other person's reaction.
Exactly. It's a dynamic exchange. And that brings us to a topic that I think often gets oversimplified, practice. Everyone says practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
But the article, and I think you would agree, goes a little bit deeper than just rehearsing your speech a few times.
Oh, for sure. They emphasize the power of practicing with a real live person. And more importantly, getting feedback from that person. This is something I've always struggled with. I mean, who enjoys hearing criticism, right?
I hear that. But here's a different way to think about it. Feedback is a gift. It's an opportunity to see your presentation through someone else's eyes and to identify areas for improvement that you might have missed. The key is to approach feedback with a growth mindset, not a defensive one.
Okay, so how do we make feedback work for us? Any tips on giving and receiving feedback effectively?
Well, when giving feedback, focus on specific behaviors, not personality traits.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, you seem nervous, trying something like, I noticed you were fidgeting a lot. Have you considered incorporating some hand gestures to channel that energy? And listen actively, ask clarifying questions, and don't be afraid to take notes. The goal is to extract valuable insights that you can then use to improve your next presentation.
I mean, that's a game changer. Reframing feedback as a gift and learning how to give and receive it effectively. That's huge. All right, what's next?
So the article then dives into something I'm quite passionate about. Authenticity. It stresses the importance of letting your personality shine through. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, especially when we're trying to project confidence and professionalism.
Yeah.
But trust me, people connect with authenticity.
You can sense when someone's being fake, right? It
Yeah.
just feels off.
Exactly. When you're genuine, you build trust with the audience. They're more likely to believe what you're saying
Yeah.
and be engaged with your message. And you know what helps with that? Stories.
Oh, yes. They mentioned how many TED Talk speakers use anecdotes to hook their audience. What is it about stories that makes them so powerful?
I think stories, they create an emotional connection. They make us feel something. Think about it. If I were to just present you with a bunch of dry facts and figures, you might zone out after a while. But if I weave those facts into a compelling story with characters and conflict and resolution, you're much more likely to remember the information and be moved by it.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like the difference between reading a textbook and watching a movie. One is purely informational, while the other draws you in emotionally. I love this.
It is. Now, here's another tip that I think often gets misunderstood. Eye contact. The article suggests that making eye contact with your audience can actually help you feel more at ease during your presentation.
Really?
Yeah. Doesn't that seem counterintuitive? A lot of people get really nervous about making eye contact.
Oh, yeah. Because it feels like everyone is staring at you, judging you.
But it's actually the opposite. When you make eye contact, you're engaging with your audience on a personal level. You're creating a connection. It's like having a conversation with each person in the room. And that connection can help you relax and feel more confident.
I never thought of it that way. So instead of avoiding eye contact,
Yeah.
we should embrace it as a way to connect and build rapport.
Exactly. And speaking of connection, that leads us to the next tip. which is about owning the stage now. It's not just about pacing back and forth. It's about commanding attention through your presence.
I've seen speakers who barely move and still captivate the entire room. So it's not really about movement, is it? What's the secret sauce here?
I think it's about confident body language. Think of it this way. Your body is a communication tool, just as powerful as your voice. So, standing tall, using gestures purposefully, making eye contact, all of these things signal to the audience that you are confident and in control. And that confidence is contagious.
So it's like you're saying, hey, I'm here, I'm prepared, and I have something valuable to share. And the audience subconsciously picks up on that.
Exactly. And on a more practical level, the article also emphasizes the importance of being prepared, checking your equipment, familiarizing yourself with the room setup. All of these seemingly small things can make a huge difference in your confidence level. Imagine starting your presentation, only to realize the microphone isn't working, or your slides aren't loading. Talk about a nerve-wracking experience.
Oh, I can only imagine. Speaking of nerves, the article doesn't shy away from the fact that everyone gets nervous before speaking. They even suggest some calming techniques. What are your thoughts on dealing with pre-presentation jitters?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to normalize those feelings. It's perfectly okay to feel nervous. In fact, a little bit of nervousness can actually be helpful. It keeps you on your toes and can even enhance your performance.
So it's not about eliminating nerves altogether, but rather about managing them.
Precisely. And there are many different techniques that can help. The article mentions deep breathing exercises, which can be incredibly effective in calming your nervous system.
Have you ever tried any of those techniques?
I used to be terrified of public speaking, but over the years, I've kind of developed my own pre-presentation ritual that helps me to kind of ground myself and channel that nervous energy into positive focus. I like to do some light stretching, listen to some calming music, and visualize myself delivering a successful talk.
That's a great idea. It's like creating a mental safe space before stepping onto the stage.
It really is. And you know what else can be surprisingly helpful? Recording yourself.
Oh, yeah. The article mentioned that. I have to admit, the thought of watching myself on camera makes me cringe a little. But I see the value in it. It's like getting an objective view of how you come across. Right.
Absolutely. Think of it as your own personal feedback loop. You can catch those ums and ahs. Observe your body language, and even assess the effectiveness of your visuals. And you know what's great about technology these days? Even if you're not giving a formal presentation, you can record yourself practicing on Zoom or other video conferencing platforms.
That's so smart. I'm definitely going to start doing that. And finally, the article emphasizes the importance of a strong conclusion. It's like the grand finale, the moment where you tie everything together and leave a lasting impression.
It really is. And the article offers several different approaches to crafting a memorable conclusion. You could end with a call to action, urging your audience to take a specific step. You could share a powerful quote that encapsulates your message. Or you could tell a personal story that reinforces your main points and leaves the audience with a feeling of connection.
I love the idea of ending with a story. It brings the human element back into the spotlight and leaves the audience with something to think about.
Exactly. And speaking of things to think about, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the broader importance of developing public speaking skills. This goes beyond just giving formal presentations. It's about becoming a more effective communicator in all areas of life.
Yes. Whether you're leading a team meeting, pitching an idea to your boss, or even just having a difficult conversation with a loved one, strong communication skills are essential.
Absolutely. It's about being able to articulate your thoughts clearly, connect with your audience on an emotional level, and inspire action. And the great thing is, these skills are transferable to so many different aspects of life.
The article actually suggests some ways to take your public speaking skills to the next level. One suggestion is joining a public speaking group like Toastmasters. I've heard great things about them.
Toastmasters is a fantastic resource. It's a really supportive environment where you can practice giving speeches, get feedback from experienced speakers, and build your confidence in a safe space.
And what's great is that they have chapters all over the world. So no matter where you live, you can probably find a group near you.
Yeah. The article also suggests attending public speaking events and watching TED Talks. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a great way to observe different speaking styles and see what resonates with you. It's like getting a master class in public speaking without having to pay for it.
And it's not just about passively watching. The article encourages you to use a critical eye, to analyze what works and what doesn't, and to think about why you enjoyed or didn't enjoy a particular speaker. It's about turning observation into a learning opportunity.
I love that. It's like taking notes from the pros. And of course, in today's digital age, we have access to a wealth of public speaking resources online. Courses, articles, videos, you name it.
And the article specifically mentions the value of taking public speaking courses, either online or in person. These courses can provide a structured learning experience, personalized feedback from experts, and opportunities to practice your skills in a safe and supportive environment.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the nitty-gritty details of crafting a compelling presentation to the broader implications of developing strong communication skills. What stood out to you the most from this deep dive?
You know, what really struck me was the emphasis on authenticity, connection, and storytelling. These are the elements that elevate a good presentation to a truly great one.
I couldn't agree more. It's not just about delivering information, it's about connecting with your audience on a human level.
Yeah.
And leaving a lasting impression.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating how all these different elements come together to create a truly impactful presentation. Now, before we wrap up, I'm curious,
Sure.
if you had to pick just one tip from this Coursera article to focus on for your next presentation, which one would it be and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. There are so many great nuggets of wisdom in there. But if I had to choose just one, I think I'd go with the power of personal stories. I've seen firsthand how a well-told story can really captivate an audience, make complex ideas more relatable, and leave a lasting impression.
I love that. For me, I think I'd really zero in on that reading the room idea. It just seems so crucial to be able to adapt your presentation style on the fly based on the audience's energy and engagement level.
Yeah, that's such a valuable skill. And you know what's great about this whole deep dive? We don't have to limit ourselves to just one tip. We can take all this fantastic advice and start experimenting with different approaches to see what works best for us.
Exactly. It's like we've been given a toolkit full of strategies and techniques to help us become more confident and effective speakers.
And the best part is, it's an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
We can always keep learning, growing,
Yeah.
and refining our skills.
So to everyone listening, if you're feeling inspired to level up your public speaking game, definitely check out the Coursera article we've been discussing. They even mention some additional resources, like public speaking courses and support groups, which could be super helpful.
Absolutely. Those resources can provide even more guidance and support on your journey to becoming a more confident and impactful speaker.
Wow. That brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of public speaking, I have to say. I'm feeling energized and ready to tackle my next presentation with a fresh perspective.
Me too. It's amazing how a little bit of knowledge and practice can go a long way.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep sharing your voice with the world.